It happened when I was about 8 years old, second or maybe third grade. I don't remember much from that age, but what happened that night is burned into my memory. It was a cold, rainy weekday, and I remember it pouring non-stop since morning. My parents picked me up from school, dropped me off at home, and left for some formal event, maybe a fundraiser or a company dinner. I can't remember what it was exactly, just that it was something fancy, and they were planning to be back late. But things didn't go as planned. The storm outside kept getting worse. By the time their event was over, the roads were flooded and visibility was terrible. So, they called and told me they were staying overnight at a friend's house nearby. I wasn't scared or upset. I was actually kind of excited to have the house to myself. My mom gave me the typical instructions over the phone. Lock every door and window, close the blinds, leave a light on downstairs, and don't open the door for anyone. I promised I'd do all of that. But of course, being a kid, I put it off. I was too busy eating snacks and watching cartoons on the living room TV. I told myself I'd do it all before bed, which I thought would be around midnight. I never made it that far. At some point, I must have crashed on the couch, probably from the sugar crash. I woke up a few hours later in complete darkness. The TV had shut itself off. The only sound was rain hammering the roof. But something felt wrong. It was freezing. Not just cool from the air conditioning, but cold enough that it made me sit up. I remembered my mom's list and realized I hadn't done a single thing she asked. So, I forced myself up and went around locking all the doors and windows. Everything seemed to be shut tight, which made me wonder why it was so cold. I pressed my hand against the window glass. Nothing felt open or broken. I figured the heater might have gone out, or the storm had done something to the power. Still, I didn't think much of it and headed upstairs to my room. The sound of the storm got louder the second I stepped into my bedroom. The rain hit my window like rocks, and lightning lit up the sky every few seconds. It was constant, thunder rumbling right after each flash. I wasn't scared of storms back then, but I was definitely uneasy. I crawled into bed and tried to fall back asleep. That's when I started hearing creaks, like wood shifting, like footsteps. Our house was carpeted upstairs, so footsteps weren't something you could normally hear. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was the house settling or a tree moving in the wind. But something about it didn't sit right. I sat up and looked around, trying to focus. A flash of lightning lit up the room, and I scanned everything. Nothing looked off. At first, then another flash, and this time, I noticed something I hadn't before. The closet door. It was open, just a crack. I know it had been closed. I remember specifically shutting it before heading downstairs. That one detail hit me like a punch in the stomach. My heart started racing. I couldn't move at first. I just sat there staring at that door, waiting for another lightning flash. When it came, I swore I saw something shift inside the closet. That was all it took for me. I didn't yell or scream. I just quietly slid out of bed and walked toward the door, every step feeling like a mile. Once I made it out of the room, I bolted down the stairs and hid under the dining room table. And that's when I broke down crying. I was terrified. I didn't know what else to do. My parents were miles away, and I didn't even have a cell phone. Then I heard it. Footsteps coming down the stairs, but they weren't normal footsteps. They were uneven and heavy, like someone stumbling or limping, almost like they were falling forward with each step. They were heading straight for the dining room. I held my breath, trying not to make a sound. My body was shaking. Then, I saw them. Bare feet, dirty, muddy, covered in cuts and scratches. Their legs were pale and bruised, almost yellowish. I couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman. It just didn't look right. They dropped something. A metal clank echoed through the dining room. It was a wrench. They stood there, just on the other side of the table, completely still. I didn't know if they were looking around or trying to listen for me. All I knew was if they bent down to pick up that wrench, they'd see me. After what felt like forever, they finally started moving again. I saw their feet disappear as they walked out of the dining room. Then I heard the front door creak open and slam shut. They were gone, but I stayed hidden for what felt like another hour, too scared to even move. When I finally got up, I picked up the wrench and placed it on the kitchen counter. I didn't want my parents to find it and ask questions. I double-checked the locks, then went back upstairs and crawled into bed. The next morning, I acted like everything was fine. I never told my parents, not for years. When I finally did, they thought I was exaggerating. But I know what I saw. I know someone was in our house that night. To this day, I don't know how they got in. I don't know who they were. But I learned one thing that night. Always lock your doors, even when you think you're safe.